And I am putting the third eye of my forehead against the third eye of this great being's forehead. And I just have to say how honored I am. And I will wait for the information to come. Being is your soul. Being is the origin of your soul. Being is the beginning of a very long process of individuation. You do not have the awareness in being at first of any individuation, and you have information on this, why that would be. You want to understand how the energy of the being is coalesced from the matrix of the oneness of God. It is a gathering of starlight. Beings are made of light. And as you know, the contrast that you perceive from your vantage point is one of darkness or areas devoid of light and areas of light. And this is simply the law of opposites. Light wouldn't exist if there was no contrast to the light. And so beings are a gathering of light. He says, I know this is hard for me to put into any words that you could teach with. This is the area that requires belief, that requires trust. How an idea or a concept, also called an intention, is born. It is more correct to say that the being is born of accumulation of energy than to say that God, the matrix, the eternal, created the being. All is created from God. There is not anything that is not a derivative of the matrix of the starlight, which is God. All the flows of energy in every dimension, perfectly flowing, in perfect harmony is God. And yet, the expression of the perfection is like a wish or a hope when an idea accumulates more energy. You cannot understand intent without words. It is not a cop-out to say that you cannot find the words to express this. But let's take music, for example. Music doesn't happen in words. Music happens in tone, in harmonics. Color and light don't happen in words. You have words to mean music, that you all understand as light, that you all understand as vibration, and yet the word is not the object. The object existed before the word. There are many languages with many words for music, harmonics, light, vibration, frequency. There are many words for that, but the only way to really understand music is to feel it. The only way to really see color is to have the emotional reaction to the assemblage of the colors. The only way to feel frequency is to know that it exists, and you can call it to you and change frequencies. The vibration of a thunder, for example, is less sound than it is frequency. The lightning strike, all the elements are less sound than they are frequency. To hear water running in a brook is a frequency, not a sound. To feel the wind on your skin is a frequency, it's not the wind as such. The heat of the fire is a frequency. The heat of the sun is a frequency. The earth herself is a frequency, a place that holds a specific frequency. Your words trip you up, but you cannot communicate in anything other than words. The word itself is a vibration. Words are not things. And so it shouldn't be too hard to grasp how the harmonics of the matrix of God, the frequency of the matrix that is God, the vibration and the light that is contained in the matrix of God. What they're showing me is when matter is vibrated in a certain way, it will gather itself into a sphere, into a ball. That is how beings are born of God. And once there begins to be a sphere, independent, unattached, but yet within the matrix, it can expand as it is also point of focus of energy and vibration that it takes in and expands the being to be vast incomprehensible spheres. And that is how beings are born from God. The particular frequency, tone, color, vibration of the being is what forms the intent. And again, there are no words involved in this. In your language, you can say that the being is your soul, the first vessel of the starlight God, eternal energy. And because it is the first in a progressive sense, all other progressions, and you can use the word sequential here also, all other expressions of the being evolve from and carry being essence, which is the soul, the first receptacle of the God energy into any reality structure throughout any of what you think of as universes. And the reason that universe has to be in plural is that you are perceiving universe as matter, as the stars, as space. This is one particular storyline, that there are stars born, stars collapsing, that there are stars in space, that the planets around the stars are varying types of material with different density. You have no way of understanding this except in the tiny slice of all that is that seems to be physical. So the universes consist of incomprehensible storylines, if you will, or evolutionary tracks. Really, your word dimension, other dimensions, would be the most accurate to describe why we use plural in the word universe. Your perception is of a physical universe, and that is the dimension that you are in. But many of you can well understand that there are other realities, vibrational accumulations of energy and expression. I'm trying to remember some of my other questions, so I came back kind of to this mind. Oh, yes, getting back to the soul purpose, the soul's evolutionary track. You have a lot of information on that as your being. So I'm asking, how many beings have sent fragments into physicality? And they say many, but not local to you. Local to you. Do you know that stars come in many different colors? Local to you is the golden star, the sun. You have been in other star systems. You do exist in other star systems. I guess I still have to ask, are all the species on our planet from the golden being? They say the sun is only a metaphor for a being. As you know, patterns repeat. The sun, you are a cell. Your solar system is a cell. There are other beings in what you think of as physical materialization on slightly different dimensions. Imagine this like a prism where the light is split and the colors are different in layers. That is a wonderful way of understanding dimensions. Although you see a very limited range, there is involvement of derivatives of other beings, other souls expressing their being intent in more dimensions than you could even conceive of. But you are right now in the physical dimension, trying to understand or articulate what must be taken on faith, because in the limitations of the human brain, you might catch a glimpse of this or feel this, but you cannot know this. You cannot know of the other dimensions except to know that they are there, and there are many beings that are being expressed. So I guess I have to ask, I've been told that our being purpose is bridging the gap. And again, I ask, is everybody, everything, every species, every plant, every flower on this planet, or perhaps even in this solar system, including our sun, are we the only being here? The answer is coming no, we are not. The word foreign is coming. There are beings that are foreign to you among and mixed into the life forms here. You very much connect with, in fact, you attract manifestations of your own being, but there are many other soul types here. One of the ways that you can identify soul types is that certain souls are drawn to certain belief systems. For example, you could consider science a religion, mathematics a religion, athleticism a religion, art as a religion. Different species express aesthetics, express emotions, express logic or sentience within their own forms. For example, a tree will heal itself, heal over a wound. You know yourself, if one of your winter squashes is scarred, that wound, that scratch will heal when the squash is in storage. The same thing happens with potatoes, and they're not even attached to the plant, but they still carry life. Inanimate still has movement. Inanimate is immersed in life. So no, you are not the only being here. What does distinguish your being is that it didn't have to send a lot of itself into this particular dimension, but the parts of you that are here are advanced, whether it's athletically, whether it's with the use of body, mind, or spirit. You're one of the older, more advanced beings. Some of the beings that are participating in the flow of any species evolutionary track or progressive track may just be in the beginning of the definition, delineation, and fulfillment of the purpose of their being soul. What is going to be challenging for you is to present this in a way that does not imply judgment, that simply is about flow and completion. Completion is not one event. Completion is only local. So to express soul intent here in this dimension, what you call the third dimension, gives you the opportunity to move, if you choose to, into other dimensions, what your horse called the greater realities. So completion for a human on Earth, because no other species will read your books, is the completion of what was desired to experience in this density, in this dimension. As you know, this dimension, the third dimension, also includes the near-Earth deceased experience and the species consciousness pool. Access to that is not leaving your dimension. And so in reincarnation, all species wave in and out of this specific density associated with 3D. So completion is very local. Completion takes place over and over again. So try not to be too specific with completion. But completion is linked to expression, what any species wanted to express. And you're looking at the trees that are right next to the river as you do this meditation. You know that there are plants living right along the river that you only see very briefly in the spring. They're talking about a plant that's called skunk cabbage that comes up out of the mud very close to the river and then goes back into the mud. It doesn't actually even stay there all summer. And then there are other plants that flower in a very specific way, the trilliums, the lady slippers, things in that classification that will be very obvious and bloom very early in the year and then do seem to recede. And you never notice the trillium leaves once summer really gets going. And then there are the trees, which seem to be a longer expression in terms of time and progression. As you know, there are some incredibly old trees on your planet. So even in form, the completion of the desired expression has different lifespans. This is one of the reasons that human and many animals reincarnate as self-knowing creatures that can actually access other expressions of their same energy in the same location in a progressive sense, because humans aren't alive very long. You are kind of like the skunk cabbage that appears and disappears, or the trillium that is so dominant before any other living plant is on the forest floor. So because you can only immerse yourself in matter for an extremely short amount of duration, you have to keep building and building and building on your own personal evolutionary track through different lifetimes. And every expression gains sentience, gains consciousness within the manifesting level. And that builds and builds and builds. Now you have how this is shared back. Any accomplishment that anybody makes is shared in the matrix, what you call the collective consciousness, because you are very species-centric. But every species has a consciousness. What is very uncomfortable for humans now is any feeling, thinking human, with any introspection at all, is the wrongness of the aggression in the Ukraine that's happening. This type of thing happens often on your planet because you feel as if the resources are limited. There is an inherent fear here, at least in human beings, and so the collective of all humans is being affected by this. And of course, the internet is the physical analogy for this. So when an expression, let's just say you, let's take you for an example, feels complete because you had a very personal evolutionary track to do the work you're doing in this lifetime, it does not preclude you from coming back into physical. It also does not preclude you from moving to another dimension. It doesn't preclude you from trying to express a completely different, say in another life, another dimension, you wanted to be the equivalent of an athlete or a musician or an artist, which has not been your focus in this lifetime or for many lifetimes. You did have a lifetime where you made lace and you did sew in this lifetime, but that, you haven't been weaving. That has never been that much in your personal evolution, for example. So crafts do not appeal to you because that hasn't been in your personal evolution. To you, that would be a waste of your energy. Interaction with nature has been in your personal evolution all along. You love being immersed in whatever you could immerse in, from the soup of this planet before any more complex forms. Your individual personal evolution is that long here with this planet. And so what you choose to do next may be both a continuation of this personal evolutionary track, or you may decide to do something else as an expression. Okay, well, this is my question. If we have a being intent to bridging the gap, and the very many ways that this can be expressed, like the rock bridges in the Arches State Park. And as an aside, the hoodoos in that other state park, I don't think it was Zion, it was near Zion. Those are an expression of a being that is completely different from yours. Now, you certainly have insects that are from, well, they're your soulmates, basically. And then there are insects that are from other beings. When you say soul, I'm asking for more clarification on that word. Soul is the vessel, that is the receptacle for the God energy, for the oneness. Soul is the way you know one. You don't know one in mind. The mind separates. The mind wants to feel itself. The soul wants to feel oneness. And the body wants to feel comfortable. The physical sensations. And so, yes, in your work right now, it's more expression than completion. But as experience builds and builds and builds, more choices become available for the expression. Ultimately, the choice to be, have, or do something else as an expression of your soul intent, possibly in another species, possibly in another star system, possibly to find another planet somewhere in the universe that resembles the soup of the evolution of your planet, and perhaps stay with that planet for an incomprehensible amount of time as that planet develops the ability to host species, and species join in her expression with her materialization. You may do this all over again in some other location in universe. You cannot even comprehend the choices that you will have available to you, and yet you may well come back here one more time as a farewell. Farewell. Completion is simply knowing that there are many possibilities, even from the vantage point of this extremely limited, dense physical experience. Seekers can understand and will understand what you're talking about. Well, that was pretty perfect. I'm going to thank this elephant. This elephant makes me want to go be with real elephants, but it might break my heart to be with real elephants. These cross-species teachers are such an honor to know. And once I get all these books done, I absolutely cannot wait to go explore species consciousness. I really want to do that. And so with all the power in my heart, I thank and bless this elephant.